You know, I love horror movies. I'm sure everyone already knew that, but seriously, I love the action and blood and overall cinematic experience that is packed into horror movies. Now, every horror fan, which I would assume is most of you, specifically loves the horror movies that are actually scary. I mean, my favorite are slashers, which aren't usually that scary, but very entertaining. But yeah, like I was saying, most horror fans love the stuff that's actually horrifying. Now, when it comes to the movies that aren't, almost every horror fan is watching these movies thinking to themselves, oh, I'm 100% surviving that. And honestly, I was thinking about that the other day, which sparked a question in my mind. Which horror movies could I survive? In today's video, we'll be discussing just that. In today's video, we shall talk about a few popular horror movies, even some of my favorites, and discuss how I, TaiSvnly, would survive them. But yes guys, enough yap, I think we should just get straight into it. Before we actually get started, I want to make it known throughout the video that I am not talking about horror movie characters I can beat. I just think by moving smart enough, I can potentially avoid them. Also, while discussing how I'd survive these movies, I'm imagining myself as if I'm in the exact same situation as the final girls. But yeah, now that that's engraved in everyone's brains, let us begin with the first movie, Scream. Now, if you guys have been watching the channel for a while, you'd know that Scream is my absolute favorite horror movie of all time, and in my opinion, the best of all time. Unfortunately, while it is my GOAT, it's also not super scary and can be definitely something you survive by the end. In this situation, I'm Sidney Prescott. A dude, or rather two, are coming after me in a ghost face mask because my mom was getting around, if you know what I mean, and is picking off my friends one by one until eventually catching me and slicing my neck. Now obviously one of the main plots throughout all the Scream movies is to find out who could possibly be behind the mask, and since I'm in the eyes of Sidney, I have no idea who it could be. All I know is people are getting murked and I don't want to take any chances being offed myself. Or being by myself, better yet. Off the bat, first thing I'm doing is listening to Randy's horror movie advice because, obviously, judging by the outcome of everything, he knew what he was talking about. Then I'm gonna stay close to someone at all times, especially if I'm living alone while my dad is out on a trip. If Tatum's my best friend, so is Dewey, cause until this thing is situated, I'm not leaving that motherfucker's side. I will also be asked to put in witness protection since I obviously wouldn't know who it is and they know who I am, but I don't know that obviously. Then, if we're not taking the early safety precautions into account at the party at Stu's house, I'm not going upstairs with Billy, especially since I expected him in the beginning. I mean, why else would he literally have the mask in his hand, gang? He can sweet talk all he wants, but I'm not buying that shit. I'm gonna try and stay near someone at this party, or better yet, leave the party since I know Ghostface will probably try and pull something here. And if all of that fails and Billy and Stu catch me in the end and reveal themselves when they're gutting each other to make it look like they're the survivors, I'm gonna grab the knife and, kinda sorta help them out since they're distracted. Or since I said without fighting any killers in the beginning, maybe just run out of the house as fast as I can while they're distracted. Then, obviously, call the cops. Cops come and see everything, and I survive. Now, it may seem easy to survive Scream, but this next movie we're going to be talking about might need some more thinking before just going headfirst into it. The next movie we're going to be talking about is Jennifer's Body. Now, I know a lot of you are probably asking yourself, does this even count as a horror movie? And to answer your question, I just recently saw it for the first time, and yes, it is in fact a horror movie in my book. Even if you don't think it is, you can literally just look at the category, but yeah, Jennifer's Body, how will I survive? Now, since Jennifer goes after boys in this movie, I'm gonna have to put myself both in the eyes of one of the boys and Needy. First, let's discuss how I would survive as one of the boys. To be honest with you, I don't know if I would. I mean, if Megan Fox walked up to you and said she'd let you smash, what are you doing? Especially as one of the boys at the school, the last thought in my mind is that it's Jennifer, so the most popular girl in school, obviously, I don't think is behind all this. So, I might just end up getting got, not gonna lie. Again, can you really blame me? It's Megan Fox, bro. But then, as Needy, I'm definitely surviving, I think. First things first, when she comes into my house and throws that black stuff up, I'm calling a trusted adult and telling them this. Then, if that doesn't do anything, since that's technically not a lot of evidence, I'm gonna try and catch her on camera doing that weird shit she be doing. And before anyone says it's 2009, they didn't have cameras, I'm not even gonna argue with you, gang. But yeah, since Needy basically expected Jennifer throughout most of the movie, I could definitely try and catch her wild acts on camera somehow. I'd probably try following her, but if that doesn't work, I'll just act like I don't suspect anything going on and get her like that. Then, obviously, show these photos to the police and get her ass got. And if none of that works, I'm taking everything I own, stuffing my car, and leaving the town without a trace. Honestly, might not even tell my parents. But yeah, that's how I'd survive Jennifer's body. Now, let's get into the final horror movie that I personally think I could survive. The final movie we're going to be talking about in this video is none other than A Nightmare on Elm Street. I've said it before, I'll say it again, I just don't love Nightmare like most people do, simply because Freddy is a weirdo. He's a perv, tries to take advantage of his girl victims, and in the 2010 reboot was even a PDF. But yeah, before talking about this movie, I thought I'd let it be known that I am not too fond of Freddy as a character. But now, let's discuss how I'm gonna survive Freddy Krueger. Now I know the generic answer that everybody gives is, oh, I just won't sleep. But gang, that's not gonna work. First off, you can't go that long without sleeping. If you try and use energy drinks and other shit to keep you awake, you'll probably just kick the bucket from heart failure or something. And even if you manage to go that long without sleeping, you'll most likely go insane and not function as a regular human being again. So instead of giving the generic, I won't sleep, let me tell you guys how to actually survive this movie. First off, we all know that Freddy can be pulled from the dream world into the real world. I mean, that's exactly what they did, so I'll probably try and do something like that. If that doesn't work, or I can't use the same tactics they used in the movie, there is another trick I have up my sleeve. We all know Freddy has some PTSD from fire for obvious reasons. And even though he uses fire to murk some of his victims, I think if fire is used against him, he's done. Well, not done, but he'll probably back off. Also, while wielding the fire in his direction, I'll insult him and hurt his feelings. And if we're talking about the 2010 Freddy, I'll remind him he's a PDF and hopefully that'll make him let his guard down. And I know I said earlier that I would try and survive all these without actually trying to fight back against the killer, but honestly at this point I really don't give a fuck. And if none of that works, I'm done. That motherfucker's murking me, not gonna lie. But yes, as you guys can probably tell at this point, there's a couple horror movies out there that I think not only I could survive, but you could as well. Even though these are cold-blooded murderers we're talking about, as shown throughout the multiple tactics I explained, it's not impossible to survive these motherfuckers. But yes guys, I think that's gonna have to conclude today's video. If you guys enjoyed, please feel free and do not be afraid to glaze me in the comments. Follow the Twitch, follow the TikTok, follow the IG. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.